And action. And welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 244. It is 8th of April 2024. Spring is arriving. Yay, finally. Now, in the PnP Weekly, always talk about the latest in the weather in Finland and Netherlands and a few other things related on Microsoft 365 and related technologies. And we typically have a visitor. This time, our visitor is...
Yes, today our guest is Toni Frankola. He used to be an MVP. I don't think he is an MVP anymore. He is CEO of an ISV company in Croatia and in the UK, Syskit. And we talked to him about journey from where he began to where he is now, the evolution of him, ecosystem, community that he was involved in, and also some really cool things about what does that mean to be an ISV in the Microsoft 365 space, tips for how to stay on top of everything that's going on the Microsoft cloud, and then a few things that Toni wished he knew when he started working on products. So without further ado, let's jump into the interview.
Let's do that. Awesome. Excellent. Let's actually get started on the PnP Weekly episode 244. So welcome, Toni, on the show. And I just a small thing when I just realized, and I don't know why I'm saying this out loud. I mispronounced your name or writing in the recording entry, but it's okay. So it's Toni or Toni. Yeah, you know. But let's start. We are really good at this, by the way, Waldek. Or I am.
You are. I haven't said a word.
But anyway, let's actually get moving. So Toni, can we start with the basics? Who are you and what do you do for a living?
I'm Toni. I'm based out of Croatia, Europe, and I'm running a company called Syskit that specializes in platform for managing and governing Microsoft 365.
And you've been actually around in the community areas also for quite a long time. Can we talk about that a bit on that?
Yeah, when you said when we were preparing for the show is like Twitter is no longer a thing. I think I got involved more heavily
with
the
thing, but
yeah, with SharePoint community when Twitter basically started to be a thing in 2007, maybe 2008. And then I kind of discovered that there are so many people around the world who actually do the same thing as I do. But before that, it was way harder to kind of discover them. So that's how I got to know many of you guys and kind of discovered this big community around. I think this was even before we had community events or anything. It was mostly just Twitter and chatting with people about various problems you had.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting point. Like, when did SharePoint Saturday become a thing?
I think it became a thing before in the United States, then it became a thing here. So I think we kind of copied their approach. They probably had not a company, but like a nonprofit organization that used to run that in the United States. And then we kind of, I think, copied this concept to Europe. And I know initially for me, it was kind of weird. Why is this on Saturday? It's like we Europeans, we don't work on Saturdays. So I know some countries try to squeeze in a Friday or something just to make sure that they will get some people attending before that. But in US, it's a kind of different, so they kind of embraced it. And if I recall correctly, this was copied from SQL Saturday, which was like the original
I think so, yeah.
series of Saturdays in SQL Server ecosystem.
Yeah, because before that, I recall, so at least here in the Netherlands, we had the Dutch Information Worker user group, and it's still a thing. But back then, it was doing community events very much around. But I think I'm trying to think back, like in which year did it become a thing? Because like I presented the first time in there, I think in 2007 or 8. But I think it existed already before then, so it just shows, right?
Yeah. And then we adapted the SharePoint Saturday, and nothing wrong about adapting SharePoint Saturday as a term, but always when we are adapting something which is product specific, it has a concern. So which is a bit of an interesting. And now we're seeing this transitioning to call-up days and all of the non-SharePoint or non-product specific days. I think Microsoft 365 days is pretty safe, and of course,
still a product. Well,
The
still a
latest
product there
product.
because we already see, right, that folks who
True.
build on Microsoft 365, they use Power Platform,
Correct.
Azure,
Correct.
and
Yes.
just like,
Yes.
yes, it's
Yep.
kind of 365, but it's also more than that. So
True. True.
Yeah.
Now, Toni, can you talk about bit about? Let's start with this community. Let's say event side of the house. You've been involved in Croatia first on organizing some of these events with others, right?
Yeah. So we had quite a good shape. You mean, and we got again to names. We had a SharePoint community, SharePoint user groups. So I think this was the same period. So we had quite a good gathering of people because there was like a lot of adoption. In the companies here in Croatia really liked Microsoft platform, especially SharePoint. So there was a lot of users who really wanted to learn more. So we gathered quite frequently, and we had great support from Microsoft Croatia here. So their headquarters really provided a lot of infrastructure for us. So we were able to have a group on a regular cadence in their office. So we kind of had a very strong community from very early beginnings. And that's how we kind of got up after a couple of years of doing this to kind of realize we're going to do some sort of a community conference. Like an entire day event of some talks and a gathering of people who work with not just SharePoint at that point, but also other Office type of technologies that were produced by Microsoft.
Yeah.
And one of these things that we came up with was initially it was called SharePoint Adriatics. It was like a 1 day or 2 day events, and I think you guys were our speakers from the very beginning. So we did that, Ades, Nenad, and I, for I think a couple of years, changing and optimizing it, how to make it better, including tutorials, including more days, stuff like that. That customers are early people that came to the event kind of wanted.
Yep.
It was never a free event, so we always wanted to charge something just to make it more serious, so that people don't just register and then you have like 1,000 registrations and only no shows.
Yeah.
So we kind of always charged a little bit, but we were quite generous and we were giving a lot of tickets to people who wanted to come, but their companies were not willing to pay for them to attend.
Yeah.
So we had we had a number of people for a number of years, and then we kind of made a commercial decision to move this thing to Germany, because Germany was a way bigger market, more central in Europe. So organizing people to come was way easier, especially if you have big airports like Frankfurt or Düsseldorf. Here in Croatia, during winter months, it's a bit challenging to get flights. So we are quite popular tourist destination. So during summer, you can fly from every country in Europe like 10 times a day to different airports. But in winter, all those low-cost operators, they optimize their schedules, so they are not flying that frequently. So logistically, it made sense to make it in Germany, and it kind of grew from a very small community event to one of the largest community events in Microsoft space in the world, basically. So it's quite famous now, and I'm really happy that I was one of the original co-founders of the thing.
But just to be clear, you're no longer actively involved. So it's an operational business. So I didn't want to be involved in that part of the business, but I still follow and I try to attend as much as I can, because it's a completely different and really huge. So I'm always blown away how big it got. And of course, just to be clear, we're talking about European Collaboration Summit. So for anybody who's like, what is called now?
So out of curiosity, like how many attendees did the original event have?
So I think the original event was around 200 people, the very first one. And before we moved out from Croatia, we were around 500 people, which is huge for the country of our size. And then I think the first one in Germany was already in the thousands, I think 2,000 people or something. So it was really...
And from there, it only went up, right?
Yeah,
correct.
Correct.
Now, I think the looking on today is Monday, 8th of April. I think there was 200 tickets left before it sold out at 3,000. So plus all of the speakers and sponsors and what are the expedited
1,000 people now.
150,000. No. But that's still 3,000 paid attendees. And of course, if we think about the collaboration summit, European Collaboration Summit, one of the main points in there is not to make money. It is technically a low non-profit conference, so it's pretty. The pricing is reasonable. So let's put it that way.
And I think if anything else, I think it's really cool to see like how it evolved from regional event to a European wide, and you could even say global, right? Because we have a bunch of folks there coming from the US, from across the world,
Redmond,
right? Yes, that is still in the US. Anyways, Toni, like you've been around for a long time. I wonder, like, what's your take on how do you see community evolve from this very product-centric, SharePoint-centric community into what we've got now, where the same people kind of work across Microsoft 365, Power Platform, Azure, basically the Microsoft Cloud. How do you see that evolution?
Yeah, it definitely was a SharePoint community when I started. At least the part that I communicated and collaborated with were primarily SharePoint people. They have probably been the closest to the information worker space. I know my original blog posts and stuff I did were mostly around data viewer web parts. So there were so many people challenged by making sure that, say, conditional formatting works correctly and stuff like that. So there's like blog posts from dozens and dozens of people every week who are trying to figure out a better way to customize data viewer web parts. I don't remember what was the name of XSLT or something, whatever we used.
Oh, yeah, good old days.
It was really complicated, right? But people, especially end users, so when you came into an organization in 2007, the first thing they would say to you, oh, I really like SharePoint, I want us to collaborate, but it is so ugly. So the priority number one became, we want to brand this, we want to change this, we want a conditional formatting with yellows and greens and whatever on our data viewer parts. So there was a lot of work to make sure this can be done. So initially I was primarily contacting and working with SharePoint people. So we were mostly on the, say, front-end side, information worker side. And then this slowly expanded with infrastructure, especially when SharePoint 2007 came along, which was more complex and it gave you a lot of more options, but you needed to have good infrastructure skills. And then this kind of expanded to the entire cloud when the cloud was introduced, because they, I guess, without proper knowledge of entire Azure infrastructure, Entra ID, and all these other basic services, you cannot really function as a 365 professional. Today, all these products are connected together. So SharePoint is just one way. There you have teams who share a lot of SharePoint data and present them in a different ways. And there are all these additional add-on products, from Planner to, I don't know, all the to-do app or tasks or Microsoft Project, Dynamics, a Power Platform. They all kind of sit together, and it's kind of hard to say, yeah, well, this is the boundary. I don't want to do that part. So it's kind of very soon as you start working, you kind of get into the next product, and you need to have at least some basic knowledge of that to navigate the landscape.
Sure. And I guess this has opened up a lot of opportunities also for SharePoint people, with the people with the different backgrounds and the connections and explosions of the application. Because again, if we think about Power Platform, it is relatively new product comparing the dinosaurs like SharePoint, which has been around for quite a long time. So 23 years now. I think it was pretty recently, actually, the 23-year anniversary, or 22. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So. Now, Toni, can you talk a bit about Syskit and what does your company do? So where does you created a company, or did you have it already, or how did you came to?
Yeah,
how that came to be?
We started in 2009. We were doing some other products as well, but I did have a background in SharePoint from a previous place where I worked. And once you got a little bit of time, we kind of figured, let's kind of build on top of my experiences and let's try to do something for the SharePoint ecosystem. We had various different ideas, but the first thing that was a major success was we made a tool called SP Docket, which allowed administrators basically to kind of do the documentation of the entire estate, to document all these servers, all those farm roles, farm infrastructure, and everything you had to kind of deploy the entire SharePoint thing. And I think that was born from a need when I had a client, they just wanted to have some sort of documentation. And I think SharePoint itself at the time had thousands of settings, and it was just an enormous jungle. So we, at the very end, when we kind of completed all the service apps, all the farm settings, all the things. So this is like literally thousands and thousands of settings. And some people, believe me, even today have very complex SharePoint farms. So for them, that's a big problem. And they want to know what's going on in their infrastructure. And that slowly evolved. So once we sorted kind of the infrastructure, people started to ask, okay, but what's going on with my content? How do I manage that? Who has access to what? What's going on? So security became kind of an issue once the SharePoint grew within the companies. And then we slowly started transitioning to offering the same thing for SharePoint Online initially, and then expanded to other services as well. Currently, our product called Syskit Point provides you with a comprehensive view of your Microsoft 365 estate with every content silos that you have. We kind of try to show you who has access to that, and we kind of try to teach you and guide people to managing that to kind of make sure their security posture is correct, that they are applying all the best practices, and they have a better view. They kind of get visibility into their estate, understand what's inside and how do they properly manage that.
Yeah. How do you, Toni, see the world evolving from ISV perspective? As we transition then from SharePoint on-premises to the cloud and everything else, is there less opportunities? Is there more opportunities? What is your kind of a take on that?
Well, my view has always been that Microsoft has been super open to us ISVs, so we really were able to build on top of their framework, so whatever that is. So it's either SharePoint Server or today it's Microsoft 365. The same approach is in other products as well. So I think that was always great. There was always an API for us to kind of leverage and build something that customers needed. Going back to initial SharePoint in 2007, it was really hard to consume the documentation. It was extremely hard to understand what's going on. So at that time, we kind of learned a lot from our customers. So we would build something and they would go, oh yeah, but do you know in a user profile service app, there's this setting, and when you click that, there's like 10 more settings that will show up. Sure. We were like, oh, we didn't know that. So we would kind of build with the customers together and expand the tool. Today, the documentation is way, way better. So it's like, as soon as you look for something, you will find a very comprehensive article that explains all the properties, and it kind of, basically the documentation probably goes first, and then the API comes, and you kind of have time to prepare for any kind of change. So it has been properly standardized with Graph APIs, so you can kind of really easily build something within those limits of the API that can really serve something to your customer. So being an ISV today is a way easier. Not just to mention the APIs, but the technologies have advanced so much. So there's so many great .NET framework and .NET in general options where you can easily build stuff that's super useful for customers, but also can be easily maintained. So it doesn't require a lot of dependencies and stuff like that. So I'm really pleased how the entire ecosystem has changed in the last almost 20 years. Of me doing something similar like this.
But how do you then see also the challenge? And I'm teasing a bit here, but let's see your response as well. But how do you see the challenge also Microsoft then coming to the ISV table and started offering their add-ons and premium offerings and all of that? Any thoughts on that?
I think my view
I
is
saw the smile. I saw the smile.
yeah.
There.
Yeah, of course. We cannot really compete with the first party. So if Microsoft builds something and that's in the product, that's not something that we want to go to. But we kind of see the opportunities as long as there is an API that opens something to us that we can kind of build something that's a different way of solving a similar problem. And a lot of our customers want different things. So one typical customer request is, I want to have everything. So like, you are missing this property, and I'm like, well, why do you need it? No, we need everything. And so it's like one of the common problems we encounter with customers is like they want to see everything. It's like when you do select from the SQL table and you just select all the columns, you don't care. It's like select star. It's like that's what our customers want. But yeah, of course, when Microsoft adds something, we try to build around it, not just against it. We just try to make it more comprehensive for customers and try to understand why do they need select star for that scenario and what is the problem they're trying to solve. And many of them have really legit problems because of the industry they are in or a specific regulation they're trying to kind of satisfy and provide reporting for that.
Yeah, makes sense. So you don't actually consider, there's opportunities for ISV still, regardless of.
I think Microsoft is quite open. So with my entire career, I've been working only with Microsoft platforms, so I cannot really tell. But we have other tools in our company that we use, and not every company is as open as Microsoft is. It's really hard to understand how do we integrate with this thing, because the API is not documented, and they don't really want us to integrate. And Microsoft is clear what is the API and what we can do with it. So we kind of play along with that playbook and try to build something that's useful for us, for Microsoft, and for the customers. So that's how Microsoft partnerships have been working ever since I knew of them. So that's how I see this entire thing right now.
And I guess that is also an interesting point, right? Because it's only something you notice once you get to work with something else and you get the comparison. And you get to compare it with something else, right? Because like even within, like you could say, you work with SharePoint and Exchange. It's still within the Microsoft scope, so it's kind of, there is some sort of alignment there. But if you get to work with Microsoft and say something else, that is two different vision approaches, engineering groups, and so forth. Like everything's different, and only then you get to see like, hey, we get this thing here, but here we don't get any of that, right? So there's like pros and cons for each of them, and it's interesting to kind of experience the comparison there.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. I just realized that we haven't put you on a spotlight. Now you're in a spotlight, so just saying this on the record. Anyway, so we also talked a bit about your. You said that you're working. Your business is primarily in Croatia. How's the Croatia? As in, you've been doing more than decades already work with SharePoint in Croatia, adapting things. Croatia is part of EU. All of that's probably the transition to make things easier. How's the community and business life in Croatia?
Yeah, just a note. So Syskit is a mixture of a UK and a Croatian company. So our topco is now a UK corporation, and our R&D center is here in Croatia, and we operate as two companies. But in general, so you are right. So Croatia joined EU 10 years ago, and we just switched to Euro last year. So it kind of made us aligned with entire European ecosystem. And I would say that going back to that documentation thing I mentioned before, it's super easy for us to be on the same page as everybody else, because like we can get the same information that's available to everybody. When I started doing this way back, you had to kind of attend a Microsoft training to get information, because that was not readily available online. So today it's like there is no difference where you're sitting, as long as you can have a good internet connection and you can just consume all these materials, either recordings, sessions from a conference that you didn't attend, maybe even. So because everything is on YouTube these days, so you can kind of just go there and watch the sessions that you missed. And you can read all these nice, not just documentation from Microsoft, but different kinds of books, white papers that people produce. It's like there is a lot of information, and just staying on top of all of that is really hard. So that's I think that's one of the challenges.
Any
How
tips?
do you do that exactly?
Yeah, exactly.
Any tips on
How do I do that? So I'm starting to get like old. So I'm old-fashioned, and I prefer to consume everything via RSS. So
TikTok,
I have
right? TikTok? No. SP Dance.
Yeah, I read a lot of, or I'm subscribed to a lot of feeds from various different blogs, and then I try to digest all that every couple of days. And then when there's something interesting, I do more research to find out what's going on. I try to curate my list because sometimes some bloggers might go into a different direction, and I'm not interested in that topic anymore. But generally, I find that's the most useful thing. Internally, we have like a Teams channel where we all share interesting news. So every time I stumble upon something that's interesting, I kind of share it to that channel, and then others in the company can also see that, and they do the same. So it's kind of interesting. I can learn from the thing. And then there are other networks like Twitter, X, or LinkedIn, or most of that's it. I'm not on these. I'm not on the new social networks. Somebody's on TikTok and saying a lot of things about Microsoft 365. I don't know.
How do
So you mentioned. Perfect. You mentioned that you learn, and there's one thing that I'm interested in, and maybe I'm going off to the different direction than Vesa you wanted to go to. Tough luck there. You mentioned that you learn a lot about tech, about SharePoint, about M365, how it evolves, and so forth and so on. But another thing that I wonder a lot about is the product side, building a product on M365, and maybe just building a product by itself. What is the one thing you wish you knew when you would start working on products?
Just
Tough
one
one,
thing.
huh?
or three things.
You can name three. Yeah, totally.
Call yourself back in 20 years before and say, "Hey, Toni, remember these three things."
I think one of the things, and this is specific to Microsoft ecosystem, we should have been on top of cloud more earlier in the journey. We should have started preparing earlier. Unfortunately, when you work with large enterprise clients like we do, some of them are lagging behind that evolution, and that's fine. So currently we offer our product in two flavors. One is in the cloud, so we host everything for you. You don't need to worry about any infrastructure. And all the small and medium business clients love that because they don't want to deal with Azure or anything in regards to our tool. The large enterprises, on the other hand, who are also, there's like a lot of them who are our customers, they don't want to do that. They want to have full control, especially over data residency. So if it's a US corporation, they really want to lock in the data in their own Azure data centers or some other countries as well. So for them, we offer an option for them to share, to host the tool on their own, in their own Azure. So we don't have any access to it. We just give them the code. They run it on their own, and we don't know what they are doing with it, which is nice for big corporations. They really love that. So given that we work with a lot of those initially, we kind of didn't embrace cloud fully. So I think building a better product for Microsoft 365, it would have been easier if we started this Azure journey a couple of years before we did, and we did start a couple of years ago. So it's like maybe a decade ago, I would have been smarter if somebody told me like, you should really pay attention to this thing. When it comes to customers, there's two things you really need to be doing. One is listening customers. That's really important. So you need to talk to this guy who really wants to select a star and do all the columns and try to understand like, why is that important? Why do you need that? And kind of have an open discussion with them. Today, everybody wants to jump on a call, so that's way easier than before. So you don't need to travel around the globe to do that. You just need to ask good questions, and that's how you're going to build the product. With that said, there's the other aspect of it, and it's like you need to have your own voice. So when we are designing the new product, the new feature, we kind of need to think like, what do we want with this thing? So yeah, they want to have all the columns, all the properties, but maybe that's not our vision. So we need to really think deeply and kind of try to push our way. solving the problem, because that's how you get a unique product, and you can really sell it because it has a story from A to Z. So balancing this customer feedback is really important for your roadmap, and trying to understand what is being built and how to solve that. I guess every product kind of, unless you're copying from somebody else, but every product is kind of unique, and just thinking about how to solve a problem is really, really important. I myself, I try to pretend I'm stupid. So every time every time my people show me something, I'm like, I just erase everything I knew from before, and I'm trying to see if this is logical, if this is easy to use. Would I click on that button? So I really try to give as much feedback, but without influence from what I've seen previously. Like, I try to tell myself, like, how would I use it? And I also try to pretend I'm super lazy, because customers or people in general, every human being is like that. So you try to find ways to do something faster. You don't want to repeat some very boring tasks. So it's really important that you find ways to solve a problem in the easiest way possible, because people just want to click one button and get it done, unless instead of clicking like 17 different screens and whatever in a very complicated UI. So I think having a simple UI is really, really important for any kind of software, basically, because that's how customers are going to appreciate what you're doing.
That was good. That was 3 or 4. That was really good. So, sharing your wisdom and experiences for others to learn. So really, really good. No, aren't there any, from your perspective, so any interesting things coming back on the technologies and staying up to date, and what any interesting new things or trends you'll be like, this is something which we definitely need to have a look on. This is something what we need to do things.
I can imagine at least one, but I will.
Yeah, I can imagine a few as well. But
yeah, I think that in last 2 years it's been AI. So that's one of the most interesting things that has been happening.
Go figure.
Unfortunately, I myself, I've seen a couple of good implementations, but a lot of these things are just being used as in pure marketing. So people just label things AI, which are actually not. So we need to be really careful to understand, where do we need artificial intelligence to solve a problem, and when a problem is just somebody is using marketing to say this is an AI solution, and actually it's not. But for us, it's human race and human civilization. I think it's going to be super important in the future. There are great applications that can be used in the business, in medicine, and all these different areas where just the sheer power of fast processing data and getting information from a lot of different sources, or compiling that into something is just, the human brain just cannot even compete with something like that that's being built. And there are different applications, from stuff like ChatGPT to Microsoft Copilot, and you can really leverage that in many different scenarios. I think we are very early in this journey, so I'm not an AI expert, I'm just an AI user. So it will take some time for us to really benefit from all of that in our daily lives and in the business.
I think that's one of the conclusions, actually, of what people. I think a lot of people are basically concerned in IT that if they're not AI experts and all of that stuff, I need to understand everything. What is a RAG and what is an NLP and what is blah 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 blah. And it's like no. Not everybody needs to be an AI expert right now. We'll get there, but there's yes, it's an interesting area where we're investing, and Waldek is doing most of his time samples on Copilot and extensibility and thinking how to extend AI. But that doesn't mean that everybody has the option, and that doesn't also mean that 99.9% of people should be worried about their careers because they're not AI experts. That's that's not. One step at a time. We'll get it better for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody has something to kind of be an expert in, and there's so many things you can learn just going to the basic office worker. So the things you can do in Excel, believe me, are beautiful and great, but many people have no clue. So the basic things like functions in Excel, what are they used for? So it's just learning Excel somebody who works in the office can be can really increase their productivity without just going into AI, which is like way more advanced. Just using it and then understanding how machine learning works, how neural networks work. You don't need to know that. It's for somebody else. But like, just if you learn basic productivity tricks, you can just be way more productive in your daily work.
Absolutely. And I still, well, I think it was last year, like in October, Harvard Business Review had a top 10 AI 10 articles, which everybody needs to read. And funny enough, 8 of those articles was not about AI. It was modernization, business streamlining, and then statements like, hey, here's a cool looking algorithm, which is almost like AI. No, it's not. That's a different thing.
It's a regular. Almost
but for
AI.
a business user, if you don't know the technical details, that it something magic happened. I put stuff here, something comes out, like in Excel, right?
Yeah,
like in Excel, yes.
Now, AI will change the world, absolutely, and it has already changed the world. But again, we are still early in the journey. It's going to be interesting where we are within 12, 24, 36, and so on. And when are we going to focus more on not about the term of AI, but rather what what it enables more on other sides. So not the technology, but actually the end results, because we're still, I think, in this journey of focusing a bit too much on technology. So
I think as with anything new, I think we are still experimenting a lot, like trying, okay, so we've got this new cool thing. What are the different things that we can apply it to, and what works, what doesn't work? Also, given the fact that it's evolving too, right? So maybe the scenario that you tried 3 months down the road or back is working now more efficiently and better because things have been improved. So I think it's, if anything else, giving it a try. I think that is already like a huge first step. Like thinking about what are the different things that you do in your work, and where could having an assistant help. Right, because that is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Cool. From a timing perspective, being cautious about the time, so that we don't take Toni's extra time away. Even though Toni were saying that it's not super busy in the office, but that doesn't mean that you have not stuff to do, because it's not about the physical presence, right? Yeah. But I think we need to start wrapping up now. We typically always ask here before we close up, anything interesting what's happening this week on your table? Obviously not NDA stuff, but how does Toni's typical week look like? For example, this particular week.
So I think I'm trying to optimize my meeting schedule. So it's always very dangerous that your week becomes a meeting after meeting, and there's like just a lunch break in between. So this week I'm trying to do some of the optimizations that I learned from my dear friends from Microsoft 365 community, because I just recently posted on LinkedIn some of the tips I use, and then I got a wealth of tips from other people in regards how they organize their day. So this week I'm doing some of those bits. I kind of wrote down some of the recommendations, and I'm going to try to follow them to see if I can get more effective until I get my AI fully sorted out, so the AI can do that for me. While that is being done, I'm still going to use my old brain to kind of figure out how to do those things.
Sure. Cool. Anything interesting, Waldek, on your table?
Always. So as we're releasing it tomorrow on Tuesday, April 9, I'm going to show some latest things that we've added to DevProxy. So if you're around and you've seen this announcement on time, join us live. If you haven't, catch up with the recording. Other than that, we are going into another planning period in my team. So we're thinking about what is it that we want to do next. We are preparing for conferences in May, which is Build and ECS. And we're working on a few cool new things for DevProxy too. So it's a balancing act across all the different activities.
Cool.
What about you, Vesa?
Yeah, so the Orlando conference is coming, so Microsoft 365 conference coming in 3 weeks. So that means that we need to start prepping for it. So and then ECS is coming right after. So a lot of conference work, and I'm actually already waiting for the June timeframe when the conferences are done. It's the spring craziness with the conferences always because there's so much to do and prepare. And then at the same time, the typical week to week, I was just calculating that I have 6 different NDA or public community calls to host this week. So that's a lot of host or participate and being actively involved, and that's a lot of things to actually coordinate as well. But again, that helps coming back on the community and engagement. That helps on exactly that. So building that. Having a forums and meetups and all of these things for people to join and share their learnings and showcase what can be done. Like Waldek's demo tomorrow in the community call. So super important, and we're super committed on doing this also in the future. So cool. I guess that's it for now. So thank you, Toni, for joining on the PnP Weekly. Really cool to have you on the show. It's been a while since we've been actually talking, but it's really good to see you as well. You will be in ECS, right?
Yes, that's true.
You will have a booth. Excellent. We'll catch up definitely there. But thank you, Toni, for joining, and we'll jump on the weekly articles right from here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Toni.
Cheers. And excellent. Thank you, Toni, on the great interview. Good to catch up in a while. I've been closely involved in the ECS, which you don't want to miss. If you're watching this on the 9th or let's say early April, there might be still tickets, but we're running out of tickets in the ECS. There's a max capacity problem within the venue, so they cannot actually just extend more than that, which is pretty cool. So community-powered community conference is running out of tickets because community is so into the community events.
I wonder if at some point we will get into a ECS tickets black market.
Yeah, that's actually good.
Because demand will just so exceed capacity, and people are like, hey,
yeah,
for 1.5 times the price, you can have mine.
Yeah. And hopefully next year capacity is then bigger, or maybe they should keep the same capacity, and then they will sell out faster, and we just need to be earlier on getting the tickets, unless you're speaking. So, which is one way of getting in. So, cool. Anyway, I guess it's time on jump on the articles. Let's actually do that. Okay, let's start with the Microsoft Teams log. So here from 26th of March, what's the new Microsoft Teams from Derek Snyder? And this is basically Nicole Hersovich did a keynote, I think, in this conference and the Press Connect 2024, and basically all of the announcements which they went through there, which is pretty cool. A lot of new features in Microsoft Teams. It's magical to see how many new things are rolling out all the time, which is awesome. At a certain moment of a time, you might think, but we're just getting started. So a lot of cool capabilities and features which are rolling out. Now, there was also a blog post related things to know about tracking your work with the Microsoft Teams updates Power Automate connector. That's actually really cool. So updating on the Microsoft Teams on the connectors. So basically all of the integration scenarios which we can do with Power Automate, getting better and better as well. Awesome to see. There was also an update related on Microsoft Teams at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. A lot of blog posts related on this conference recently getting published, which is a good thing. So people know actually what is getting covered within a conference, so which is really cool. On the Teams side, a lot of sessions, but I would almost say that, well, it's not like all of these are only for Teams. Some of this stuff might be on some other areas as well, like the future of work in Microsoft Teams or Age of Copilots is not just Teams. It's of course everything within, but a lot of awesome content. Looking forward on seeing people in Orlando. I'll be there as well. We'll have community pools, all of that stuff in place for people to ask questions. So should be really cool. Now, Microsoft shifts availability and import schedule from Excel, which is really cool. You're able to basically get the stuff in the tooling directly using Excel file. Small feature, super important. So people do a lot of planning in Excel as well. Now, a lot of these monthly summaries in general, so 365 Admin Monthly Digest, again, announcing or calling out all of the new features in the admin side. We have similar things for SharePoint. On the Viva side, we did a Vima Connection Partner Showcase series. So this is episode number 2 on that one. And this is with I'm just trying to find Henry's. Yes, Henry is the Henry M from Adenin. We basically go through all of their different offerings and cool stuff, what they've done within a video format, and that was actually kind of fun. There's really, really cool stuff like Workday integration, and a lot of other integration systems, which people can then easily take into use directly from the store. It's pretty cool.
This is really, really cool. And it's like, if anything else, there are folks like, yeah, our intranet's still there or not. But if I look at the way I use that personally, so we have a dashboard at Microsoft too, and it's so convenient to just get access to the things that I need, as opposed to having to like bookmark somewhere and keep the bookmark sync across my laptop and my phone to the different apps that we need for different things, which it's so much easier to access them from this one central place.
But it is actually funny to notice how long it takes to muscle memory. I've started using now Vivo Connection, but it just takes a long time to realize that, this is actually really, really cool. I can find everything, the most commonly used use cases.
But it's also the thing, like the forcing factor for me is like, okay, what is the URL? Do I want to memorize a URL, or I just open the dashboard and I can just tap on a card? And that is way easier, because there are so many things 100%. To keep in mind. This is just way easier.
Yep, 100% agree on that. Now, we also published an article related most widely used SharePoint framework ISVs from the store, March 2024 edition. Again, going through the 10 most widely used solution providers. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, there's a lot of other ISVs who are not in the store, but the store is a focus area as well. So we want to promote those. Anyway, it's complicated. What is an ISV and what is an SI when it's in store and it's not in store? Anyway, that's complicated. SharePoint roadmap is up March 2024, again calling out all of the related technologies and SharePoint news, which have been rolling out. For example, Microsoft lists new forms experience, which is really, really, really cool stuff. No code capabilities of creating forms really, really easily within a SharePoint list. A lot of cool stuff available in here as well. There's a lot of articles from me, interesting. Public preview of SharePoint Framework 1.19 is also out. So this is the first release of upcoming features. The main key capability here is the new chart card. So you're able to actually surface directly charts within the Vivo Connection dashboard, which is really, really cool and a useful scenario as well. More chart types coming later on, absolutely. Now, there was also an update on DevProxy 0.16.
Exactly. So we released a version that was in preview for a few weeks, and the main announcement is allowing developers to simulate deploying graph connectors as Teams apps. Because that idea is really great, because you give admins standardized UIs to turn connectors on and off, as opposed to having to build something by yourself or having to run some kind of script against a production environment with credentials and whatnot. So this is way easier. And the cool thing is that DevProxy allows you to simulate the whole flow end to end. This means that as a developer, you can test all of your code locally without having to deploy anything, waiting, clearing up webhooks and so forth and so on. So a huge productivity boost for you as a dev who builds things that allows orgs to benefit more from Copilot and AI. So definitely check this out.
Really, really cool stuff. We also had an update on the bot-powered Vivo Connection extensibility. Again, SPFX is definitely the preferred option. Well, I wouldn't say preferred. It's 100% recommended option. If you have, however, already invested in Microsoft Teams bots, you can easily extend those to actually also be exposed in the Vivo Connection dashboard. And starting from the Microsoft Teams manifest version 1.17, we'll actually have the dashboard cards options available. This is currently still in dev preview, but it's rolling out relatively soon. So in April 2024. And that moment forward, you can actually package your solutions to even to the Teams store. And if the Teams, somebody acquires some of those solutions to the Teams, they will be they will be, what am I saying? They will be published, English is so hard. They will be replicated, that's the right one, from the Teams application to and exposed directly in the Vivo Connection. So there's no end user admin operations needed. So if it's in the Teams bot, it is exposed across the Microsoft 365, which is really, really cool.
Well, I guess the other thing you will need to do is to add the card to the dashboard, but that is
Of
something
course,
that
you need to add the
do
card to
anyway,
the dashboard.
right?
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. But that's card designer will have then the card available to get added on the card on the
Really cool.
dashboard. Deprecation of Microsoft Craft Meeting registration beta APIs. I'm not sure if this is a April Fool's. Just kidding.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Never announce anything on April 1st. You never know. But yeah, unfortunately, there's deprecation on that one, and that will be replaced in initial version Teams webinar by June 13, 2024. And this one was it on the? I think it's in the beta side, so it's all absolutely 100% fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anyway, if you're using this beta APIs, there's it's in the title.
It's in the title. Read the title.
Read the title. Cool. Then we also published an article related on the Microsoft 365 Community Conference on the developer side. So what are all of the different topics and scenarios, what we have available for developers, and from an extensibility side, which is really cool. There's developer sessions, there's workshops, there's a lot of other stuff available as well, which you can take advantage. Update on the future of the Script Lab Office add-ins. So what's happening over there? If you're using this, have a look. This is actually incredibly powerful. The scripts in the Office add-ins are super cool. So you're able to.
Oh, that's nice.
things.
Yes, this is so cool. This is so much easier and better than trying to write VBA.
And the VBA wasn't that bad. Come on. So
Whoa,
and it had a lot of
doing web
flexibility.
requests in VBA, I don't think so. Plus here,
Fair
being able to like tap into the NPM packages and all different things, this beats it
Definitely
100 times.
Yeah, definitely. And less security issues and all of that stuff, which we need to worry about. And OneNote Get Pages Search API deprecation on that one. So adjustments in there, decommissioned on May 5th, 2024. So good to be aware of that one as well. I think this is actually for the 1.0 API.
No, so this is the OneNote API. Because there is an equivalent
not
of it
a
on Graph.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's precisely. 100%.
There were quite a few folks who were caught about like, what? No, that is the OneNote on the OneNote URL API being deprecated in favor of an equivalent of Graph.
Yes, which is the right thing to do. Absolutely, 100%. So cool, good. Got that one clarified. On the Power Platform side, the Power Platform community is buzzing about Microsoft Copilot governance and scale. An updated article related on what that means and what are the features, what are the excitement related on all of the Copilot features within the Power Platform. A lot of investments over there as well. Increase efficiency with Microsoft Power Platform governance features, which is great. Related on Syskit discussion today, they're doing a lot of governance features and automation. And of course, Microsoft is investing in here as well. So there's a better UX and capabilities of governance, having visibility on what's actually happening within it. Enhanced governance control on desktop flow logs. So an article over there, relatively short, weirdly formatted article. It's actually because
it's
of
short.
the article.
It's just short.
It's short. That is true. And then there was an update on the Microsoft Copilot Power Apps transforming how people engage with apps. This is actually a few things which is really cool here. So Power Platform is providing you the text box with the Copilot for developers. And that is actually really cool. So Power Platform, as a developer, you can basically expose the text box, and then you're able to enable the Copilot directly within that text box without you needed to do anything. And then it takes advantage of the Copilot from Microsoft, which is really cool. Awesome simplicity on that one. Excellent. Now, few blog posts. Really cool announcement from Adam Wojcik. SharePoint Framework Toolkit 3.0 is now out, and that's a really big release on the SharePoint Framework Toolkit, previously known as Viva Connection Toolkit. Makes SPFX development super easy. Also, CDCI, all of that automation, everything is in place. Behind the scenes uses Yeoman Generator CLI for Microsoft 365 for automation as well. And related on that one, actually, there was a CLI update as well, 7.6, which
definitely. So new month, new release of CLI for Microsoft 365 with new commands around Purview, threat assessments, generating Azure DevOps pipeline for SPFX projects, more features to manage Outlook messages and whatnot. So definitely huge encouragement to give it a try, test it, and get to use it, because we've done some great improvements around auth to the point where you can log in with multiple accounts and you don't need to log out and log in if you switch between
That's really, really cool.
the environments that you use, which is a must-have for every consultant out there. So definitely give it a try.
Sure. Elio had a new blog post related to using Playwright in combination with Microsoft Dev Proxy in GitHub Actions. That's really interesting. So we're using.
He has actually a whole series, like 4 blog posts around Dev Proxy with GitHub Actions, with Playwright, building plugins. So he's done a bunch of work around that. To tell you more, he submitted 2 new articles to the official docs. So that is really, really cool. Great work from Elio.
Absolutely awesome, really, really cool. And Mikael Svensson had a series of Copilot productivity tips, quite a few of them. This is just one with a structured formatting word, basically just showcasing what it actually means that you're using Copilot. If you don't have access on it, this is how it's being exposed, and this is what you can actually do with that. So thank you, Mikael, on those productivity toolkits, productivity tips. Yes, productivity tips. English is hard. Now, Laura Rogers had a blog post related on Microsoft Loop rules and Power Automate and how those actually work. So what's the capabilities, how it actually works, and how you can actually take advantage of these automations and rules within your automation. And a video as well. Really, really cool. Then we move into the video series side. So April Dunham had a video related on unlocking answers with Power Apps Copilot Answers. That's actually cool. Really cool stuff as well. Power Platform is really rolling out a lot of new capabilities across the stack on Copilot. Shane had a really fresh 28 minutes ago, 2 new and 2 improved Power Apps functions to be aware. And Shane does release a lot of videos, so it's great that he's also coming back on and updating people on the changes, so not just the older videos which are out there. There was also a new episode from PS's Tech Byte, so Paolo around Microsoft Copilot Studio, overview of Microsoft Copilot Studio, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to actually start a series here on a weekly videos, and these are really cool. They're 4 minutes, 5 minutes, really, really fast to actually catch on. The latest on what's happening. SharePoint Wizard had a how to embed a new Microsoft list form in the SharePoint page. He's actually having a lot of also videos across the different capabilities and new features which are available. Then there was a video from Synpraxis on the Microsoft 365 site lifecycle. They have, I think it's a bi-weekly show where it is open for joining, and then they talk about a certain topic and you can ask questions. Really, really great opportunity to ask questions related on what does it actually mean, and how would I be interested, and so on. And there's a lot of experience in the room. Todd Clint and Mark Anderson and Julie Turner. Julie isn't that? Oh, Julie is in here, so, and Derek and so on. So a lot of knowledge. Message Center Show had a new episode 328 teams on the Copilot in Stream, ringless group chat calls, and so on. So they're basically going through all of the updates within the Message Center, what's coming up and what does it actually mean. Really great show as well. And then the final video is from Daniel Anderson related on the most versatile web part in SharePoint. And what could it be? What could it be? What could it be?
Check out the video.
Check out the video. I think it's quick links. Am I spilling?
It's got to be the weather web part. It's got to be the weather web part.
Yes. But Daniel has also a lot of awesome end-user powered capabilities or targeted capabilities on how things actually work and what you can do with the platform without necessarily extending that with low code, no code, or pro code.
Well, or just including with text, because again, being able to check the weather in any place across the world, one web part.
That's true. Yes.
Any place in the world.
Yes. Mind-boggling.
Yes.
Cool. We already went through what's happening this week with Toni. I guess that's pretty much it. So getting back on the track on weekly processes, we'll be back within a week. We're recording again on Mondays for upcoming weeks and into Orlando. So we have fresh news, articles, all of that included, which would be really, really good. But I guess that's it. Thank you, Waldek.
Thank you, Vesa.
And we'll be back within a week. Cheers.
Don't forget to tag your content with hashtag PnP Weekly. on X, on
Hashtag.
LinkedIn, on email, with owls, whatever.
Yes.
Let
yes.
us know.
Cool. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.